everybody.
Hey everybody. We are going to start a new segment.
Yes.
In our
Runaway Routes.
Runaway Routes.
If you hate the name, it's my fault.
I thought it was Runaway Travels, so I figured...
If you guys write us in comments and say Runaway Travels sounds better than Runaway Routes, I'll change it, because that's how easily I'm swayed.
But Runaway Routes is what we're going with. So
this week on Runaway Travels...
This week on Runaway Routes, no, we sat down, we kind of started talking about the very first time we got the RV.
Yep.
And the travel plans we made from Texas all the way back to Cape Cod.
To load up. And this is footage
nobody's seen. We never recorded.
We weren't filming. We were
took
just
some pictures.
New drivers. We were very concentrated, and we didn't have much on board. But we did do some things along the way. We didn't just do a beeline. We stopped and saw a few things that we wanted to talk about. And we've told some of these stories to in kind of campfire groups with some of our other RV
New
friends.
Yep.
And they were laughing, I think mostly at me than with me. But either way, that's fine. And so we thought it would be a good segment to go over and say, hey, these are the routes we took. These are the things we did. We'll showcase some campsites.
Yes. Campsites, maybe some food. I know there's a couple places that we went on that first trip that we really enjoyed. I mean, places that you would never usually find, just out of the way type places.
Agreed. And then we'll also go through kind of the route we took once the episodes start airing.
Right.
So, because we did stop at some places that we didn't film because we weren't there very long. So we just kind of stayed for ourselves.
Right.
But we wanted to kind of go over that.
Yeah. So we'll let you in on our runaway routes or travels.
Absolutely.
Whichever way it goes.
Exactly. So before we start going, we want to talk about, we purchased the RV in Texas. We were in Massachusetts.
Yes.
And this gentleman helped us tremendously, still helps us to this day. And his name is Bill, and he is an RV inspector, and he's based out of Dallas.
Right.
We found him online doing some searches and getting ratings and stuff like this. And we highly recommend an RV inspector for sure. But if you're buying it in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you gotta call this guy. And I don't know, he might even go further out. You can call Bill, and I will put his information down below in the description. But I don't know, I have so many great things to say that I'd go on for 20 minutes.
If you're a first-time RV buyer, you're experienced, you've been doing it for a long time, anyone will usually agree that whether it's new or even, especially if it's used, RV inspection done, it's really important.
Absolutely.
They will go through that coach and make sure everything is how it should be.
He really kicked the tires,
Bill
tested all the fluids, and gave us his honest opinion about the condition of the coach, which is what we needed before we had put a deposit, but we hadn't signed any paperwork.
Right. And
before we wanted to start driving to Texas in the Jeep, we wanted to make sure it was good.
And we were cutting it close because we had the fluids tested. Those have to be sent to a lab.
Yeah, we were already on the road
and we were already
when
on
the
road.
results came in.
Yeah, and they were good. So
yeah, it worked out okay. But you got to call Bill. There are others, but not as good. So we'll put his information down below.
Right.
So that's just the little infomercial part of the video. And now we're going to get into the routes.
Thanks, Bill.
Or the travels. Yes, thanks, Bill. So we started out in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We stopped at Camping World because it was the only place on short notice that could hook up the tow bar.
Right.
And we're thankful that we could get the tow bar because there was no way I was going to be driving this by myself with Ann driving the Jeep behind me going, move faster. So we set up in their parking lot. We set up little pinstriping on the mirrors and on the windshield so that I knew where the lines were and where my pivot points were. We set up cones. We watched a bunch of videos. In fact, I might try to link one of the videos that we watched on the video here. So before we pulled out of their parking lot on a Saturday, we made sure that we knew kind of the ins and outs of driving. And I've said this before in other videos, I've never driven anything this big before. I'd never driven anything bigger than an SUV. So we got going. Nothing like a trial by fire through Dallas-Fort Worth rush hour. Well, technically not rush hour because it was Saturday, but it was a lot of traffic.
Still a lot of traffic.
But we made it all the way up to Norman, Oklahoma.
Right. And I've never seen Drew so kind of focused and a little tense driving.
Yeah.
He can drive anything. Any car we've had, no worries. He just, smooth sailing.
Well, that's very kind.
Was, Fort Worth, Dallas was a little more, very cautious. And
not quite white-knuckled, but it was definitely a lot more attention.
By the time he got into Oklahoma, he was almost like a seasoned pro.
Yeah, because we took it straight to a Walmart parking lot. Not to stay, but just to get stuff on board, which it turned out was a stroke of luck, as we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yes.
But we went and got some stuff for the freezer and fridge to eat along the way back. We didn't have a toaster, so we had to get a little $20, or I think it was even toaster. $10, old school toaster.
Two-slice toaster.
Exactly, something to get us, and we still have it on board now in case it's our backup.
Yep.
And, we got bottles of water. We got just some staples for the coach. So we went on to the Museum of Osteology, which is kind of like a bones museum, skeletal museum, in Norman, Oklahoma, not far from the Walmart.
Right.
And it was a Harvest Host at the time.
At the time,
I don't know if it is still.
I tried looking it up, and I don't think they're on their list any longer.
Probably because of us.
Probably because of us.
We got there, and they were already closed.
Right.
Because we had, like I said, started out late, got there late. We were not sure of how long it would take us. When you plan it on a car route, it goes a lot quicker than if you plan it on a RV route.
Right.
And so we had some issues parking. And, of course, we can't unhook the Jeep because while they showed us how to hook the Jeep up, they didn't teach us how to unhook the Jeep at Camping World. Now, it's not Camping World's fault.
They might have, but they did it.
There was a lot of information.
It was like, okay.
You're right. It's not their fault. I should have asked a ton more questions. Regardless, we couldn't unhook the Jeep.
Right.
And we had to we didn't make the turn right, and I couldn't back up because the Jeep was on. So we had to kind of do this big loop around the building a couple of times until I finally set up perfect. One thing we didn't learn at the place we bought it, and we didn't ask, all of these are nobody's fault but my own. We had zero fresh water on board.
Right.
So whatever happens, you have to utilize the facilities either in the morning or throughout the night. And one of us had to do that, and
Thank you for Dansani bottled water.
Yes. We had bought some bottled water for the trip because we hadn't had a filter system, so we had to drink bottled water.
Right.
And I said, you know what? Let's just put it down the toilet to make water into the toilet to flush it, and sure enough, it worked. Yep. No problems at all.
If it's consignment, there's a good chance. It's you buy it, you take it off the lot, it's yours. Yep. If we were smarter, we probably would have looked to spend some time with our RV inspector.
Yeah, I would have had Bill come. In fact, Bill said, hey, if I had known, I would have met you there that day. And it would have been great, but we didn't know that.
First night, don't stay at a Harvest Host, don't stay at a Walmart parking lot.
Go to a campsite.
Go to a campsite so you can hook things up, practice, or
have water.
Yeah. Wash things out.
But enough of speech.
Yes.
So we spent the night there, got up in the morning, got back on the road, and headed to Joplin, Missouri, which was a KOA. And we picked that KOA mainly because it was just off the highway. So it was, we weren't going to see anything. We wanted to get to a campsite. So we went, stopped. But on our way to Joplin, Missouri, I always want to say Joplin, Mississippi. Joplin, Missouri, we hit a little bit of a rainstorm.
No problem.
Not an issue, right? Turn the windshield wiper on. Well, the door side windshield wiper started and then flopped all the way over to the mirror and would not go.
Right there, it was hooked right in between.
So I had to get off the highway because I can't have it up like that. Pulled off to the side. Moved it back, tried it, it worked just fine, got back on the road, halfway to Joplin, it started raining again, I pushed it, boom, again.
Same thing.
Same thing. So thankfully at that point we were very close to the campsite, so we just said, you know what, we're just going to have to leave it over there.
And it kind of stopped raining.
It had stopped raining, exactly.
We're good.
But it was fortuitous because right across from the KOA was a truck stop, oil change, repair place.
Big place.
And we're going to talk about that in the next episode.
Perfect. Come join us for the next one.
Thanks, everybody.